So what does somebody who's built a $200 million company by 28, the youngest dragon on Dragon's Den, and who has the #1 business podcast in Europe/the world has to say about life? Well, unsurprisingly, a fair bit. And here are my top 5 biggest takeaways I learned as a result of reading this book. Number 1, the art of quitting. A lot of people can't actually handle the uncertainty which their lives can bring. It more or less entraps them. It destroys their happiness and slowly kills their self-esteem. The greatest force stopping all of us going in search of the right thing is usually gravitational pull from the wrong thing, the last thing, the safe thing. Staying in that safe job which they know they hate, or being in that comfortable relationship which doesn't actually fulfill them. It's, in terms of evolution, this is quite fantastic, but in terms of actually living a happy life, this is, it's not the one. Through trying to avoid uncertainty in the form of short-term discomfort, a lot of people actually sign up for long-term misery instead. What Stephen kind of talks about, there's a direct correlation between happiness in relationships, in jobs, and every other area of life is directly related and correlated to the ability to handle uncertainty in that area. Knowing when to quit, change direction, leave a toxic situation, demand more from life, or give up on something that you know in your heart is not right and move on is a life-defining skill that people who find fulfillment, love and success, people who basically win at life, have intuitively mastered. Here's the framework which Stephen sets out. Are you thinking of quitting? Yes. Why are you thinking about quitting? It's hard or it sucks. Let's go, it's hard. Is the challenge worth the potential reward? Yes, don't quit, but if it's no, then quit. On the other side, why are you thinking about quitting? It sucks. Do you believe you could make it unsuck? No, I've tried my best, then quit. But if you say yes, is the effort you would take to make it not suck worth it? Yes, don't quit, no, quit. Throughout Stephen's life, basically used this framework for all sorts of areas of his life. And it's about being totally at peace after you make the final decision and not having this kind of residue left of thinking about, oh, what if I did this? What if I did that? It's like, okay, cool, I did my best at quitting. Okay, cool, let me focus all my mental energy on the next task at hand. Okay, here's some more quotes. I tend to believe that if you do the hard thing now, you'll have an easy life later. And if you do the easy thing now, you'll have a hard life later, which is definitely the case. There's so many times you more or less either stay in a relationship or stay in a job because, okay, cool, it's safe, it's comfortable. But in reality, it's going to lead you to a life of basically misery. And if you don't sort this out sooner or later. Okay, point number 2, the perfect decision. This is quite funny because my ability to try and find the perfect answer is quite crazy. It's like recently I was thinking about how I wanted to buy a camera. And so I was going on YouTube, going like on the internet, trying to find the best camera for this and this and that. And the problem is I spend weeks and weeks and weeks trying to come up with like the best setup. It's a very good way of wasting time. Sometimes it's useful, but a lot of the times, 50% of that time is literally more or less wasted. One thing Stephen talks about in the book is how overthinking and procrastination is created by you trying to come up with the perfect decision in the world where the perfect decision is only seen in hindsight. And this is a principle Barack Obama actually talks about. So it's good enough for him, it's good enough for me. It's the principle of 51%. And it's the point of this 51% decision is enough and being fully at peace after you actually done it. And kind of whole concept is like the 100% decision actually don't exist. By making 51% decision, you actually get feedback faster, meaning that you can learn faster. And so you can go towards this ideal outcome a lot quicker. Through trying to reach 90 to 100% certainty, you lose out on the most important thing you actually have in life, which is your time, as well as a chance to learn and get feedback. Okay, point number 3, journey back to human. So this is quite a basic concept, but again, it's very important to get reinforced and for us to all of us to remember. A lot of us spend 10 plus hours a day seated in front of a computer, surrounded by 4 walls, away from sunlight, eating really shit processed food and drinking more or less acid, and then wonder and complain of how my health is not in order. And most of the new age techniques that aim to improve your mental health are based on the old age principles of how life was 10,000 years ago. We took the wrong turn and filled our lives with overstimulation, alcohol, caffeine, poor nutrition and loneliness. It's time to turn back. So our tribal ancestors understood internally that human connection, nutrition, water, exercise was the key to life. If you want to improve your mental and physical well-being, try to live life a bit more human. Point number 4, the 8th wonder of the world. Okay, so the most underrated, profound, and key skill for anything you actually want in life is the power of consistency. But see, the story of, okay, just do this thing over and over again for a prolonged period of time simply just doesn't sell well. In our modern society, the get-rich-quick scheme, the quick temporary solutions, which require absolutely no effort, is what actually sells well. So all these successful people have one thing in common: the people who achieved a lot, who create a lot of wealth, whether it's sports, entrepreneurship, and just anything in life, they mastered the power of consistency. So consistency is the key skill to any sort of success in life, but because it's invisible, it's very underrated. So Stephen talks about how success is 5% brain plus 95% consistency. If you make correct small decision today for your physical health, mental health, career, finance, business, or relationship, you won't see the results today. Success is the result of your consistency invisibly compounded for you over a long period of time. Greatness is not simply just one decision. Great is good, consistently done over a long period of time. And number 5, the gamble of life. So in the book, Stephen talks about how all of us are gamblers standing around the roulette table of life. There's only one rule: every hour you must place one chip down, and once you place the chip down, you can never get it back. How we place these roughly 500,000 chips determines our life outcome, whether it's relationships, our intellectual development, or mental well-being, etc. And time is the most valuable resource we have. As he writes, the person you are now is a consequence of how you used your time in the past. The person you'll become in the future is a consequence of how you use your time in the present. Spend your time wisely, gamble it intrinsically, and save it diligently. And another good quote, which I don't think is in the book, but something I was pondering on the other day: all of us have 2 lives. The second one begins when you realize you only have one. Okay, this leads me on to the next point about sound time. So what if you could physically see life ending before your eyes, slowly kind of draining away? Would you really be spending the majority of your time going through YouTube loopholes of Messi scoring his, I don't know how many goals, or emptily scrolling through social media, or thinking about what somebody else has to say about you? The answer for me, and I hope for everybody else, is no. And it's just something to kind of think about. So what if you could actually see your life basically almost coming to an end through, let's say, a sound timer? Would you really be worried about so many other things? No, you kind of understand the sacrifice and you go out there and do what you want to do. Me on to the next point of 5 Regrets of Dying, which is a book by Bronnie Ware. So she works in palliative care. So she was caring for people on their very last days of life before they die. She highlighted that people on deathbed were actually able to achieve a remarkable level of retrospective clarity. So they're able to pinpoint exactly what they should have done, what they shouldn't have done throughout their lives. Yeah, and we're able to kind of achieve it. Because they had this kind of final day in sight at the point where we would die, all these kind of lying, all these games you kind of more or less play with yourself were literally gone, that was stripped away. And then the top regret that people had is, I wish I had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the lives others expected of me. So out of all the things people on deathbeds wanted to regret, this was the number 1. So living a life motivated by others and extrinsic motivators that have something what deeply fulfilled themselves. So now you know the number 1 regret of the dying. The chances are you're not that much different and you're going to have very similar regrets. Meaning, how can you back engineer that and make sure that you live a life true to yourself? And how can you do that now instead of waiting how many years to fucking realise this? So would I recommend this book? Totally. I think it's incredible and just so much value actually packed into it. There's hundreds of books and knowledge packed into this bad boy. And also another thing I could recommend is his podcast. I think his podcast is amazing. I try to listen to it more or less every week. So thank you so much for watching this episode. If you want to watch another one about financial success, living a good life, I actually made this video right here. It talks about my biggest takeaways from reading Rich Dad Poor Dad. Right, cool. Peace.